As your currency breaks down, you're going to continue to see your competency break down. Here in Houston, we've experienced a hurricane, not even a big hurricane. This was a Cat 1, okay? And it did an enormous amount of damage. And you'll notice all over the news, especially if you're local. If you're one of the, what is it, I think 8 or 9 million in the metro, you know what I'm talking about. There is no shortage of criticism for Centerpoint and, Harris County and on, okay? There's no shortage of complaints about this kind of stuff. And the reason, and it's not exactly unfounded. The challenge is that as your currency, and I've been over this before, becomes worth less and less and less, competency is going to follow along with it. Always. It will always do that. And this is where, and it applies to all of you out there, a lot of people, because you do the same thing a lot of other folks do, right? You wake up and you're like, fuck, I don't want to go to work today. Why don't I want to go to work, man? This sucks. It isn't the work that sucks. It's not. It's not. It's the lifestyle that goes with it that sucks, right? So, and I've scientifically proven this on many occasions. If I offered you a job shoveling horse shit all day out of my stalls, out of my stables, okay, all day, that's your job, is 8 hours a day, you get an hour for lunch and what have you and stuff, but your job is to manually shovel horse shit out of the stables and go take it out of the compost. Would you do that job? Most everybody's going to say, absolutely not. Would you do that job for $2 million a year? I'll have a line of people around the world, right? I'll have billions of applicants for that. Will I not? Of course I will. So that proves scientifically it isn't the job that you're bummed about. I don't give a fuck what job it is. I don't care if it's, dude, I'm in the fucking heat, direct sunlight all goddamn day in some cases, okay, doing the shit that I do. Because I work outdoors. I do manual shit. And I do a lot of low-level jobs, right? Now, I happen to be the owner, so it's a little different story. But my point is that it isn't the job that's the problem. Would you work at McBurger for $1 million a year? Absolutely. Most people would go, dude, for that kind of money? Absolutely. It isn't the job. It's the lifestyle that goes with it. This is why I pointed this out a long time ago with these guys who were like, well, I made my son, he started my company and stuff. He's going to take over my company, but I made him go out there and do every job. He had to clean toilet bowls and all that kind of shit. And it sounds great to virtue signal like that. But then you have to ask one step further and say, okay, Mr. Owner, did you have your son live the same life as the guy who you pay full time to clean those toilet bowls? Did he live the same lifestyle, or did he go home to a $2 million house, a trophy wife, and 4 kids? That's the difference. You understand? Most people don't live the life that goes along with that. Okay, so it isn't the job you're upset about, it's the lifestyle that job is affording you. Okay? People who show up and do shitty jobs are supposed to be compensated. And their compensation gets stolen back from them through inflation. So of course they get bummed and unhappy. They're like, fuck, man, this sucks. I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting any further ahead. Well, of course you're not. And then you have the better job people. Who are the better job people? That's delusional boomers and everybody else. People who can't do math, saying, well, just get a better job. There is no such thing as a better job. I just want to clear this up for you. For all of you out there, let me clear this up. There is no such thing as a better job. The grass is always fucking greener. And as soon as you go to that better job and you're there for 2-3 years, you're going to see that, like, man, this thing sucks. Yep. Happens every time. Okay. It's just not how this works. Okay. It's not how the game is played. What you're after, you're not after the work. You're after the lifestyle. Okay. And so what pays the most right now? Conning people. That pays the most right now. If you want to make the most money right now, go into politics and start conning everybody. And then just start looting like everybody else, like all 546 of them are doing. That's all you do. That's what you do. You go do shit like that. That's what pays the most. It's just conning people, ripping people off. Getting them involved in crazy fucking business ventures and then just basically looting all the money, right? Telling them to buy this stock and buy that stock, and like that's all this is. It's just a bunch of cons, okay? And that's what's paying the most, because but if you turn that around and say, okay, well, hold on a second here. I want to be paid in a currency you can't conjure from nothing. Well, that changes the deal. That means the people who do all those jobs that you don't want to do, right, or can't do because you're not competent enough, those people inherit the earth. They make a lot of money. Okay? You follow? That's how that works out. So The reason you're losing so many competent people is because all those competent people are trying to get a better lifestyle. They are mentally not in any of this shit that they're doing on a daily basis. I don't care what it is that they're doing. Well, we need people out there to mow lawns, fix roofs, cut down all these trees and shit like that. We need those guys and everything. Yeah, you want competent guys doing that kind of stuff, because if you don't have competent guys, you have truck drivers who drive along with no CDL, no training, no nothing apparently, don't speak English, dropping pipes all over the freeway, unaliving people. That's what you end up with. Because what the companies are after, they're not after competent people, they're after cheap. They want cheap because that's all they can afford. They can't afford the competent people. They can't afford to hire people like me. I cost way too much money. So do the others. Because they're saying, hold on a second here. I'm doing a lot of work. I want to have some kind of lifestyle. I'm not talking about a giant mansion on I'm talking about Crawford fucking Ranch or some shit like that. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about just a decent lifestyle that is at least on par with the amount of work you're doing. The amount of work you're doing, not the type necessarily, but the amount of it. Like, well, become a doctor. Doctors, it's by volume, dude. Look at how many doctors work 100 hours a week in residency. It's just volume, dude. So, and if they're going to be successful at all, they do have to be somewhat competent. At least we are hoping that's the case. So, as this breaks down, when you see the competency crisis just continue to rage on without any there's no stop signs or speed limits, it just keeps right on going. It's because of that. It's because your currency is breaking down. The faster it breaks down, the faster competency is going to break down. It's going to get much, much worse, by the way. It'll get much worse. You're going to have to realize that sooner or later, those of you out there, that you're going to have to start learning how to do all this shit yourself, because you're not going to be able to rely on a whole lot of people anymore going forward. Why is that? Well, because a lot of the competent people, they're saying, fuck it. If I'm not going to be able to participate in the economy in any kind of meaningful fashion, then I'm just going to check out mentally, and I'm going to look for something. I'm always going to be looking for something else to do, rather than have, focusing on and getting really good at one thing. That's called your division of labor, by the way. That is a basic fundamental. Your division of labor will break down every single time if your currency breaks down. Every time. If your currency breaks down, your division of labor will follow right behind it. Just as sure as night follows day. I mean, so this is how this is playing out. So when you see, whenever you see all this competency crisis stuff that's happening out there, it's like, just keep this in mind. That's because the people who are competent are always looking for somewhere else to go where they can make more money, because they keep seeing they keep seeing all these fucking con artists, basically, for lack of a better term, making all kinds of money, or what looks like they're making a lot of money. I mean, again, I have some inside baseball on this, because I see a lot of people's houses. I see these big, beautiful houses that you guys drive by on the road, and you're like, oh my God, look at that big, beautiful house, it's incredible. I see a lot of them up close and personal as a contractor, and I'll go there and I'll look around, and I see $50,000 instantly worth of neglect and just poor maintenance and shit that hasn't been properly done. And this isn't with like critical contractor eyes. This is just with like common sense of like, wow, this probably needs some updating. I mean, like, this could use a little bit of upkeep and everything. Most people, like I've said before, they can afford the payment, they can't afford the house. They have no business buying the house. They could afford the payment, and that was about it. So they bought the biggest and most beautiful house they could possibly afford to make the payment on, but they couldn't really afford the maintenance and the upkeep on it. I think I told this whole story a long time ago. Leona Helmsley's house, it was like 40 acres of landscaping, huge house, indoor pool, outdoor pool, all kinds of crazy shit. And they wanted $150 million for the house. It eventually sold. I don't know what it sold for. Somebody on the internet can find out and stuff. I mean, it didn't sell for anywhere near $150 million. And I remember making the comment, like, dude, even if you gave me the house, I couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford the $150,000 a month in staff and upkeep and taxes and blah, 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 blah. Like, I mean, that's just how it works. Okay? But a lot of stuff isn't explained. So so don't be surprised as your competency continues to break down, because of your currency continuing to break down, because the currency is going to continue to break down. It's not going to stop at this point. You're going to see pocketed inflation, and you're going to see a lot of people just showing up and having kids. But that ain't going to fix any of this. Not in your lifetime. So if you want to have shit fixed in your lifetime, you better step to it.